We battled some technical difficulties yesterday, but now it's the weekend and the puppy is live on Underdog. Everyone's been begging for it. If you're in the Discord, if you're not in the Discord, get that out of the way right now. Spikeweek.com, go to the header, hop in the free Discord with hundreds of other sicko degenerate best ball players. If you've been in the Discord, probably been one of the people asking about when's the puppy? When puppy? When are we getting the puppy? Well, it's here. The first puppy of probably many over the course of the entire summer. So why wait? First draft show since the puppy has been launched. Let's just go ahead and get into it. Can you hear me now? Yes. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? It's probably crappy audio. I think my mic is going bad. Can you hear me now? 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 Good? Okay. Yeah, I wasn't muted. I think my mic is dust. So the audio quality might be a little bit bad today, but first world problems. We will power through with some AirPod mic. This mic has done me well. I've been delaying getting a new one. I've been redoing the office setup and the lighting setup and the camera setup, and I've been redoing all this different stuff. My trusty mic, I had the settings how I wanted them. I had everything, and I've had this mic for so long, and I think it's coffins. Yeah. Thank you. That's really funny and great feedback. So anyway, you guys aren't here to hear about these first world problems. Let's talk about the puppy. This is I never quite seen anything that has this crazy cult following like the puppy does on now I'm still talking into the mic. It's so funny. I'm gonna do it because it'll look more professional even though this thing isn't working. So the puppy, right? $5 tournament on Underdog. I really love the fact that we're getting more of these though. These $5 tournaments. I mean, for best ball to grow, for all of us, we need accessible tournaments for everybody, right? And $25 isn't necessarily a lot, but not everybody can I mean, if you want to max enter Best Ball Mania 3, that's a lot of money, for the average person. And so we want this to be something that everybody has access to, draft an entire portfolio of teams. That's part of the fun, right? We're spending the whole day in Discord talking about different players to target, how much to target them, right? Today, a lot, if you are in there, you heard quite a bit of, say, Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson and those kind of guys being discussed really frequently in there. And it's not as much fun if not everybody that's in there can afford to draft a ton of teams and see how many Chris Olave shares they actually really want to get, right? Because I mean, you don't really know until you draft a bunch, and sometimes $25 is a little bit prohibitive for people. The other nice thing about this, really quickly before we do actually hop in, first of all, this is batshit crazy that it's almost 10% full already. I've got a pre-recorded video going up to make up for yesterday's stream that had the technical difficulties, and it's about tournament specific strategy, and we'll talk a little bit about it for sure while we're drafting here in this in this show, but like, so we see here why thinking about each tournament in and of itself, like you have to address the puppy for the puppy. What you've done up until this point in Best Ball Mania 3, I'm not saying it's irrelevant because you do obviously have your entire portfolio of teams for yourself, but you're drafting in a different environment and a different contest against different people in a set time period, right? A pocket of time. This thing is 10% full in the first 24 hours. So let's just say we'll just make it an even 2 weeks. This thing's going to be open for 2 weeks over the course of the entire summer. So we're really not going to get ADP is not going to change much, a little bit, right? Some guys will change. We'll maybe get a blurb here or there. Maybe someone will sign. Please, Will Fuller, please, for the love of God. Just blink twice if you're alive. Post on Instagram or Twitter if you have a functioning hand. That would be nice. So it's gonna fill quick. It's within this small pocket of time, and obviously there's differences, right? It's not quite as big as Best Ball Mania is. I actually don't know. I need to pull up, so obviously we still have the same week 15, 16, 17 playoffs. I need to click on all rules here, and of course, I now have to share that screen. 1 second. Should have had that open. In the puppy, ties, rounds, advancements, etc. I think this is where, or is it under the general contest? Yeah, under general contest. So you see the differences here in terms of what the playoffs look like. You're obviously always in a 12-person group in round one. Then you get an 18-person group and an 18-person group. Interestingly, in that round two, that first playoff round, week 15, it's actually the top two that advance out of 18, then the top one out of 18, and then you're in a 115-person final group, right, with $75,000 to first place and a fairly flat payout structure. This is important because we need to understand the different nuances, right, of the specific tournaments that we're playing in. And I understand that like 470 people in the final of BBM, like from a DFS perspective, sounds small, but it is not really small, and it is 4 times as big as this puppy is. So thinking through the fact that there's all these different variables, right? It's only going to be you're only drafting teams in this tournament for this 2-week time period. So what does that mean? That means that some of the advantage, right? There is no such thing as a barbell strategy for timing of drafts in this because it's only open for 2 weeks. Everybody only drafts in those 2 weeks and it's filled, right? So like, oh, should I wait and draft or should I draft early? That doesn't exist. That whole thing doesn't exist. The potential advantages of drafting early, in terms of uncertainty or some people might want to, employ a strategy around targeting guys they think are going to rise or waiting on guys they think are going to fall. None of that matters in this tournament, right? And so you want to employ a strategy based on the ADP that currently exists for this 2-week time period, based on the structure of this tournament, right? It's a little bit flatter, a little bit smaller final group. It's more like Best Ball Mania 2 last year. is much closer to what this is about. Obviously, lower price point and a little bit smaller price pool. And so those little different variables are huge things. I wanted to just make sure that we touched on those. Those will mean different things for all of us. We'll all handle it differently. So what I'm seeing in David Njoku got 57 million. Let's look. Breaking news. Damn, this filled fast. You guys must have been waiting in there. Let me share. I'm trying to share Twitter here. We can look at David Njoku. The Browns and he was on the franchise tag. 4 years, 57 million, 28 million guaranteed. 5th highest paid tight end in the NFL. Wow. Didn't that fill? That filled really fast. That's pretty funny. That is a monstrous payday for Njoku. I think that that's something interesting to think about. I was like probably about at market, I think, on Njoku. I gotta do a rankings update here very soon. So that it's kind of good now because I waited, and he might be a guy that moves up for me. I mean, that's a lot of money. That is a whole lot of money. Let's see where on Underdog positional tiers. I always like to work off the positional tiers. I know a lot of people will use, just like a top 250 or a top 150 or top 200 or whatever. I really don't like that. I draft off the positional tiers. I don't really care, honestly, if I have DeAndre Swift ranked over, bad example. If I have Cam Akers ranked over whatever, Terry McLaurin, I don't think I do, but I'm just using names. If like it doesn't set up well positionally for my team. So here's an interesting one. I talked about this. I don't remember if I talked about this with Silas or who I talked about this with, but drafting basically after these first, once you get past JT and CMC at running back, and then the Cup, Jefferson, Chase, that's pretty much your top five, and certainly my top five. Once you get past there, I'm actually trying to get get quite a bit of Kelsey. I've talked a lot about how focused I am on week 17. And obviously, as you guys know me quite well and know that I am a running back hater. But I also think the way that the ADP shakes out, particularly right now in these puppy drafts, is that there is the second round running backs, like the guys that are going to be available to me here at running back if I want to take one, are like really no different for me than the Ecklers and Najees. Sorry, Tony, if you are listening, I won't say anything else negative about Najee, but I don't have any real difference between those guys and Swift, Mixon, Aaron Jones, etc. Right? We look at the running backs here: Swift, Aaron Jones. Not really drafting Kamara, but even Chubb, I don't mind Chubb. Lenny, Saquon. I'm a noted Saquon lover right now. Let me think about this. I'm gonna take Debo. I'm still very much in on Debo. Sorry. Tony says no negative Najee takes, please. Oh yeah, Hacker says I didn't even notice this. Let me pull up the board. I knew I was coming up. And zoom in. I don't want to get in trouble. I know the Zoom bros get mad if it's not like super clear. People, I guess, must be are you watching it on your phone? Are you watching it on an iPad? Are you watching it on small screens? You can't read the names. The Zoom hatred has gotten out of hand. But it is very clearly a spike week draft if Javonte Williams is going in the first round and going ahead of Austin Eckler and Dalvin. I love it. We are taking the world by storm already. It's Javonte season. But with Kelsey, it is after those top five guys. I like Diggs, and I'm so on Devontae Adams and that next, those wide receivers and such. But I'm just really not into those other running backs. Oh, like when I can just get the tight end one. And I have the same concerns probably that everybody does about Travis Kelce. This is not a spring chicken. This is an older guy, right? He has shown a little bit of signs of getting dinged up here and there, but just what will be assuredly the target leader for the Kansas City Chiefs, particularly without Tyreek Hill, in the game I'm trying to target for week 17. So I get the positional edge at tight end. I get instant exposure to the game I'm really, really trying to target as much as possible. And it's like he fits perfectly right into this little pocket where now I can get whether I wanted to go Debo there, Mike Evans there, maybe sometimes Devontae falls to you, CD, right? AJ Brown, whatever. Or if I want to do DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones, Leonard Fournette, etc. There, I can do that, and I feel like I'm gaining points at tight end, and I'm not really losing anything at these other positions. Come around to the third round, and it's kind of the same thing. I like, not all drafts. This is looks like a fairly sharp draft. T's already gone and AJ Brown's already gone, but sometimes those guys fall, and then sometimes these running backs do too, right? The Saquons maybe of the world will fall a little bit to more of the mid third sometimes. And so I just like how the ADP plays out. And so I'm going to attack that hard in these puppy drafts because I don't know that in Best Ball Mania, in 2 months, I don't know that the ADP is going to sit this way still, right? I see a lot of people liking Saquon and Lenny and T, etc. So a lot of people are liking and steaming some of the same guys that I like, which is like on one hand, you're like, hey, that's cool. I like that. Other smart people maybe like the same things that I do. But on the other hand, you also know that then probably means that they're going to move. And so I'm just trying to take advantage of that in this. And that's a big thing about this contest for me is I want to attack what I believe is the best way with this pocket of time in this ADP and the best way to construct teams, given the parameters of this tournament. And like in BBM, like if stuff changes, I can adjust later, but I can't do that here. And so like I don't really care about exposure in one specific tournament. If you are like worried about diversification and all that kind of stuff, I think you should be okay doing it like tournament by tournament. Your exposure in Best Ball Mania should not match your exposure in this puppy because they're very different pockets of time and very different tournaments. And so I do think that's important. See, this is the only unfortunate part is I'm okay on James Conner, but Kyle Pitts is also like kind of a priority for me. I'm actually going to take DJ Moore here because I've gotten my fair share of James Conner. I also really I'm still on James Conner even after the Darrell Williams signing. I think it hurts him, but I think we saw what he did in what should be a much more of a timeshare with Chase Edmonds last year, just given the role that James Conner had in an elite offense. And I think I still want to have access to the upside that he brings, like just being the goal line back with at least some of the pass catching work. Darrell might steal some of that pass catching work, but at least some, if not most, of the pass catching work. And just being attached to this offense, James Conner has so much upside that I'm not writing him off here. I kind of like this fall that we're seeing from him a little bit, but I also prefer him a little bit more on drafters. And there he goes. I kind of was hoping he would fall to me. I prefer him a little bit more on drafters, where like week 1 is just as important as week 17, right? In this, it's a little bit tougher to wrap your head around this guy that, maybe still gets a little bit of work stolen by Darrell Williams and has, he's an older, injury riddled running back that naturally has concerns when everything revolves around week 17. But on drafters, it's like, honestly, if he plays 8 weeks as an RB1 in the third round, like, I don't know, that's pretty good. It's just such a different tournament. So I'm so on him here. Let's take a look. I'm definitely not taking Zeke. I can tell you that. I think Hacker pointed out that Mahomes has been falling too, which is nice. Like you can really, because like I don't care if I get Mahomes. I'm not like prioritizing Patrick Mahomes. I see people do that way too much, taking Mahomes like at ADP. Actually, I think that's a fairly big mistake. Damn. I really don't like DK at this cost. I mean, this is really expensive for Judy, but I can get my correlation set up already. I think I'm going to take Judy. Yeah, I'm going to take Judy and just already get my CC here started. Travis Kelce, Deebo Samuel, DJ Moore, Jerry, Judy. And so now I just have my, if I don't get any more Broncos Chiefs, like it's okay. I've already got my Broncos Chiefs built into this team with two superstars. I'm open to Russ. I'm open to more on that game. I'm also not going to overload it on that game, but this just kind of helps keep me flexible. I don't have to take anybody else from that game now again, or I can make that my main stack with Russell Wilson. It just allows me to not have to, like, later on, I don't have to decide between Tim Patrick and Donovan Peoples-Jones or whatever. I think they're at very different ADPs, but you get the point. But yeah, I like the Mahomes thing. Like I said, the hacker said Mahomes has been falling, so that's when I want to take him. It's like the market is Mahomes is overpriced, in my opinion, and has been, and kind of always is. But the market is finally getting more hit to that. And so in turn, you can like get Travis Kelce, whatever second round player and third round player that you want, get your Jerry Jeudy or Cortland Sutton, and then Mahomes might even fall to you, or vice versa. Maybe you pick closer to the turn, you do take a late fourth Mahomes, but Sutton or Jeudy are going to be there, and like you just instantly can get that stack, which, like I said, that's a priority for me for sure. DJ Moore forever, definitely. I'm not going to stop buying on DJ Moore when all he does is keep producing in a bad situation. I know the situation is bad, but we just never know. Maybe Matt Corral takes over and he's the difference. Or who knows? Maybe they get Jimmy or Baker, and I'm not excited for either of those guys either, but maybe they are the difference. They're just good enough to make DJ Moore a superstar wide receiver. And like he's the perfect kind of pick again every year. This was like the thing last year. It's like small loss, big win. He can be a big win. He's that good. You just like never lose on DJ Moore, no matter how bad the situation is. Like no matter how bad Sam Darnold is or Cam Newton or whatever, DJ Moore is still just turning out fairly productive weeks. Is he always going to be the perfect pick? No, of course not. The situation does stink, but he's so good that he's really never going to be like a big loss, obviously outside of injury, which is the case for everybody. David says, someone's got to be the standard bearer for zero RB overset on streams all the time, drafting early running backs to go hyper fragile. Yeah, the band has jumped off there is no bandwagon anymore. Sean Siegel is drafting hyper fragile teams. Pete is drafting hyper fragile teams. Ship chasing is drafting. Ooh, now this one's tricky. I do really like ETN in this build. I'm not you see Juju here, and that's one where I think a lot of people might just jump to take Juju. I'm thinking about Kyler, though. I love me some Kyler. I don't love him without Hollywood. I'm going to take ETN. But I think a lot of people would jump to take Juju in this structure because you're like, oh, you're stacking that game. So let's take him again. I actually prefer, like when I've taken Kelce, to kind of keep my options a little bit more open and not force myself, like in round 5, to have 2 Chiefs and 1 Bronco. Obviously, I don't have Mahomes, and so I've like forced myself into so much of my capital in that one game and those 2 stacks that it's like if I don't get Russ, and then probably if I don't get another Bronco, it's like your team turns out a little bit funky. It's not that you can't do that. You could absolutely lock up kind of, if you want all of the Chiefs' top 2 options. You think that's Juju and Kelce. I prefer to balance out kind of my, like if I take MVS, right? If I get Russ on this team, I take MVS, maybe I throw on KJ Hamler or something like that. I'm still getting all my exposure to that game and that game stack, but I'm able to mix in some of the best assets from other games and other teams as well. Instead of really you're drawing thin to like a Chiefs full season smash, right? Juju and Kelce have to smash if I used all of that capital, and I'm drawing thin to that week. You only have so many shots at the superstar players, right? Because your superstars just generally don't really come from the later rounds. Obviously there's situations like Amon-Ra and stuff like that last year, but in general, right, the projectable superstars don't really come later in drafts. And so I like to, like I said, balance those things out a little bit more. I don't want to have 0 like Kelce Juju teams, of course, but when I'm like, if I'm building like an optimal team, which kind of comes from the DFS brain. Let me see here. I do still kind of like Godwin. I'm kind of trying to push him a little bit more. Maybe, damn it, I was really hoping that Kyler was going to fall there. I'm going to end up taking freaking Juju because he's going to fall all the way to pick 65 here, and I don't really love And I'm not taking Michael Thomas because I've been told I'm not allowed to take Michael Thomas. But Juju is kind of a jailbreak for me here. So now I just spent the whole time talking about that. And and then I literally, go the complete opposite direction. I really wanted Kyler to fall. And I also possibly might have taken Brandon Cooks over him. Let me see the board here. I definitely want to take Godwin over him. My guy, Darnell Mooney. I love me some Darnell Mooney, but I obviously he went as well. Just looking here. Yeah, that's about it. That's the other thing. It's like, so I spend all that time talking about like, oh, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. But then when you get into the draft room and the draft plays out in such a way, like I have these tiers up and it's like Juju is a tier break. So just take the guy who fell a full round basically after ADP and just go on about your day. And like just take that and move on, build the best team for this specific draft room, right? Don't have the like having rigid rules around like your strategy in terms of maybe you're fading a player or you're trying to go heavier at 0 RB. I actually think those are totally fine, but I think like not being adaptable to your draft room like in that instance where I'm literally saying, and I believe in that, like I don't want to overextend on Chiefs because I do want to maintain that flexibility, whatever. So I went ETN over that. But then you get to the next pick, and that guy's still there, and now before we could have made a case, right? ETN, Mooney, Godwin. Maybe you wanted a quarterback with Hurts or Burrow, Kyler, right? Talked about Kyler. I really wanted Kyler, but all those guys go, and now it's a tier break. Now it's Josh Jacobs, is Treylon Burks, one-footed Michael Thomas is there. So then just take them. Just take Juju and move on. Let's see here. Oh no, David says I didn't see this. Steagles or St. Eagles or Steagles, St. Louis Eagles went Dalvin in the first round. Sorry if you're watching. Earmuffs or mute. I was already on mute, like myself. Like mute me, turn off the volume. You're probably not going to like this. Dalvin, Josh Allen, Waddle. I'm just like, whatever. Then comes back. Dalvin, Josh Allen, Waddle. Then we got to smash Patrick Mahomes in the 4th round. Then we got to hit Jalen Hurts. Because I just don't know. Like they say that 3 quarterbacks is a good thing. Quarterbacks are the highest scoring, right? I think it was Hayden's data that said you need to have 3 quarterbacks. And so if 3 quarterbacks is good, then 4 quarterbacks has to be good. And I mean, Tom Brady's like the greatest quarterback of all time. So why would I not want Tom Brady on my team? You have Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, and Tom Brady. Looks like a smash. Looks like a total smash to me. I don't think I have. Let me click a couple of these. So I am definitely not taking Sky Moore on this team. Hunter Renfrow actually makes a lot of sense for this team. Damn, Russ is gone. You guys are the worst, man. I'm going to take Hunter Renfrow because I have Debo. And if you've drafted at all, the Hunter Renfrow is like the last viable Raiders guy. Some people have talked about, say, Demarcus Robinson in the 18th, and I understand it. I haven't got to the point where I want to put my chips in on that as a pick, but I certainly understand it. There's maybe Kenyon Drake, maybe Zamir White, but that's a game I really like in Week 17 as well. Vegas and San Francisco, and like I said, he is, very much a like the last man standing for the Raiders. The Raiders are all very expensive. Well, the main few guys. Yeah, seriously. This is the Hacker says this is the puppy, not super flex, and David says you better ski out in front of this avalanche. Normally it is, and it kind of is a little bit in this draft, a wide receiver avalanche. Certainly not used to the quarterback avalanche in non-super flex drafts. So I am going to think about that actually here at in these next couple of picks. I got to think about how to approach a room, where I'm technically going to give up ADP value if I take a quarterback, say here, but you're gonna get that back later. And I still have to build a team that can win, right? I don't want to. I don't want to build. I don't want to be stubborn and just like, oh, I'm just gonna take the guy close to the top of the ADP list. So I'm spoiling that by saying I'm taking Trey Lance here. I have Debo. I just took Hunter Renfrow, and Lance is actually a tier break for me at quarterback, and I don't want to get locked out of my upside quarterbacks because, as David says, you'll end up with something like Zach Wilson and Teddy Bridgewater. So we're trying to ski out in front. Nick says Juju projects well, but that projected target share has got to be among the most fragile in league. 100%. 100%. I have a disgusting amount of MVS and a lot of Kelsey, actually. And I've been drafting both the running backs. I actually don't have quite as much Juju, but it's one of those situations where I think if you want to make the case, which I guess I am kind of making right now, if you want to make the case that because he's the most expensive and it is so fragile, you want to have less of him, maybe you want one of the Broncos guys or Gabe Davis or Kyler or ETN. You want to have more of those other guys necessarily in that round than Juju, and you want to embrace the fact that that's so fragile with the cheaper assets. MVS, I still can't do Sky at pick 80 or whatever, but maybe you want to use my approach to Travis Kelce. Maybe you want to look at the running backs, whatever. But I don't want to have zero Juju either. I don't want to be like that rigid to say like it's fragile. He's overpriced. Why is he so much more expensive than the other guy? I'm not ever taking him. And I think people do that too, where they're like, nope, he's overpriced. I'm never taking him. Like, but you like the Chiefs, right? Yeah. But you like the Broncos Chiefs game week 17, right? Yeah. And you admit that there's like, it's very much within the range of outcomes that Juju, it just smashes, right? Yeah. So why would you take zero of that guy? Like, I'm not going to take zero of him. I can take my 10% and move on, right? We won't have to make stands on everybody. I'm going to make plenty of stands personally across, in this tournament. Trey Lance is actually a guy I want to make a stand on in this tournament specifically. I want to make him my highest owned quarterback in this. I think we're not far away from getting like tons and tons of positive reports. I feel more confident than ever that he's the starting quarterback. And I just want him at this cost. I think this cost is egregious. Pick ADP past 100. I think it's terrible. And there's not really much chance that he gets steamed so hard in these tournaments that I care over the next 2 weeks. For BBM, I might care, if he skyrockets up in a few weeks. But in this, it won't move enough for me to care. I'll make him a stand in this. If he gets priced out of where I want to take him, then he becomes, not a stand in other tournaments. And I think that's totally fine. Ooh, not on the Christian Watson train. Melvin makes a lot of sense for this team at running back. A lot of sense. So that's what we're going to do. Melvin Gordon. If you are watching on YouTube here, I have a 0 running back team that has Travis Etienne as my first running back, and I have Travis Kelce, and I have Juju Smith-Schuster, and I have Jerry Jeudy. So we've made that bet on those. That's my core game, right? But I also now have the Trey Lance, the Debo Samuel stack with Hunter Renfrow. Let me see here. I'll let chat. You guys sell Chris G on Travis Etienne. I don't know. I like first round pick running backs that catch passes, and offenses that spent a ton of resources to upgrade. Just got out from under Urban Meyer, who sabotaged the entire offense and the entire team because he'd prefer to play grab ass than he would coach in the NFL. Did I mention he was a first round pick? Did I mention he catches passes? Pretty good prospect. Okay. Did I mention that he plays the Texans in the championship game? I don't know. I like playing the worst team in the NFL in the championship round. And his competition is a dude who tore his Achilles. Plotter, who was already a plotter, who tore his Achilles. That seems okay for me. And oh my God, how did I miss this? Thank you, both of you. Best ball moderate says sweet Avi, by the way. That's a sweet Avi. Best ball moderate says also showered with his quarterback, and Hacker adds, don't fade the shower narrative. Tried and true. Tried and true. Okay, we're about to be back on the clock. I should have been paying a little bit more attention here. I'm going to queue up some potential players now. I am on the clock. I don't hate Singletary at this cost. He also fits this team. Tony also fits this team to try to set up another stack. I'm trying to think here. You know, I really don't have a lot of Devin Singletary, and I don't particularly love him with James Cook. But I also think that's kind of what makes him this good, 10th, 11th round, 0 running back target. I think the price has gotten into a reasonable spot. He's still going to be a running back on the Bills. It's not like him playing all the passing downs last year is why he was scoring goal line rushing touchdowns. Of course, you want him to be out there for that. If we really want a maximum ceiling, we want him to play some passing down stuff. But he's still the lead running back, almost assuredly the goal line running back for the Buffalo Bills. And it's like now because they brought in James Cook, like he's like the same bet as last year. A little worse, probably. A little worse. But I don't think it's that different. So he's interesting. He's a really interesting one. Yes, it's Blues game 6. Blues game 6. And they made me sweat one more night. Go down 3-1 to the Avalanche and somehow pull out a miraculous victory in overtime. And now I gotta be miserable for another 3 hours or whatever, waiting for their season to end. Yeah, so here's one thing I would say, Chris, is I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't say there's a guy who didn't recover from this Liz Frank injury 10 fucking years ago, first of all, and say, oh, I hear that, I'm out on that dude. Like that's one example. Like there's guys who haven't recovered from ACLs. Like everybody has different injuries. Everybody responds differently from injuries. The science is different now than it was. Etienne is already practicing. He's full go. If he wasn't fine, do you think NFL teams have invested in these guys? Like if he wasn't good to go, he would be full practice in voluntary minicamp. And even if he wasn't, I think we should be very careful on saying there was this guy who didn't right? And people will maybe do that with Cam Akers on the flip side. They'll say, look how fast Cam Akers came back from Achilles. So I don't care about J-Rob. It's like we can't latch on to any one individual specific example and say that's driving my decision for another player who had that injury or, is in a similar situation. So let's see. This is a good question from Brandon. Brandon asks, if Lance is going to be taken in the same range in every draft for the puppy, wouldn't it make sense to try and take him a lot in BBM right now if you think his prices will go up? Yes, I think both. Correct. I think if you're on Lance like I am, I think I'm trying to just smash him in this because I don't have to deal with any of the, like, I can just take the guy who's the best pick. And I think he's the best pick, like, for this contest, right? Oh God, I can't take Rojo. I cannot take Rojo on this team. But I am going to take Rachaad White, and that's pretty sexy. I'm definitely in on some Rachaad White. Also, a nice 0 running back target. Got me my 4 running backs here. You scroll so we can see the board. Anyway, what was it? Sorry, Brandon. I apologize. Oh, so I'm definitely taking I would take Lance in both. The only problem is that like I'm like taking a little break from BBM right now to draft a puppy because like there's only so much, it's only gonna it's only gonna be open for so long. However, your point is 100% true, and I have been taking a lot of Trey Lance in BBM because I do believe that his price is going to go up. And honestly, even if it doesn't go up, I think it's just an inefficient price because the market is so scared of Jimmy G, and we don't need to go into the Lance thing, even though I did put him on the thumbnail because I like putting him on the thumbnail to trigger people. But he is a stand I want to make for me personally in this puppy tournament. But to your point, that also equates to early BBM drafts as well. So yes. Heat Nation. F off, Chris. Should I put you in timeout for touting the team against the team I need? Yeah, I know Davis is going to the game. We're going to the Cardinals game. I'll probably watch I'll have the Blues game on my phone at the Cardinals game. Damn, it is all the running backs here. I really like Isaiah Spiller too. I'm going to put him in the queue. I'm also going to put Jacoby Myers in there. And Hendo. We might turn this into this might be kind of a fun little 0 RB team. I'm taking Isaiah Spiller. I've 5 running backs already, which is kind of funny, right? 5 running backs through 12 rounds, but it's a 0 RB team. But when you start with Kelsey, Debo, DJ Moore, Jerry, Judy, come back with Juju and Hunter Renfrow, it's like I'm loaded up at wide receiver and at tight end, and I got Lance, which is one of my priority targets. And now I'm just like, this range has all the best 0 RB guys. From starting it with ETN, who I'm a big fan of, to Melvin is I love Javonte. You guys know I love Javonte. We talked about Javonte earlier. It's a spike week draft if Javonte goes in the first round. But obviously, if I love Javonte, I like Melvin is a great pick for me as well. So I'm definitely heavily targeting Melvin as well, particularly in these structures. Singletary is the lead running back on the Buffalo Bills. Does that seem, like it fits a 0 running back team? Yeah. Rachaad White, is more of a handcuff. Spiller is, hopefully getting a little bit more work. But like, this is what I love to do on these teams. Like ETN is not necessarily a bet on an awesome offense, but it's a superstar prospect, first round NFL draft pick that's discounted because he just so happened to not play last year. And honestly, maybe it wasn't the worst thing for him to go out there and take a beating on that shit show of a roster that they had. But you get him leading off. And again, did I mention they play the Texans in week 17? The 100 yards and 2 tutties from ETN. But then just you get the Broncos running back, in the committee. You get the Bills running back. You get, what's a handcuff to Leonard Fournette on the Bucs. And then you get Isaiah Spiller, a running back on the Chargers. It's like, just take all the dudes that are either pretty good themselves or on good offenses, a combination of the two. And it's like, just let the chips fall where they may. You said it. I didn't say it. I won't say it either. Sam says Spiller seems like such a smash in round 12. I agree. People are the speed and the the testing and all of that. I get why people were down on Spiller, but like at the end of the day, we also have to sometimes set that aside and just say, this team, that's one of the best offenses in the NFL. Prioritize this dude with a reasonably high, draft pick, and his production and everything is good. And he's in a role that, like, we were drafting Justin Jackson, Josh Kelly, and those guys for probably a lesser version of what this role is, right? This is like the Melvin and Eckler role as opposed to, see, now look at this. This is nice. Now I get my pick of some of these rookie wide receivers, not really on KJ Osborne. I am, of course, going to add my guy, Alec Pearson here. And I do need to start thinking about my second stack. So I'm gonna take Pickens because of that. Because if I have to, go get Pickett later, I can go get Pickett. Obviously, Deshaun Watson is not available. Pierce will be in play for a backdoor stack, but I don't totally really love taking Matt Ryan in terms of his upside. Let me actually see who's available at quarterback. Woof. Yeesh. That's bad. Yeah, it was he scored like 30 fantasy points. It was really all he did all year, but I had a metric ton of Justin Jackson last year. It's so funny. I I really feel like I absolutely crushed with all these like backup running backs, and like why I'm super bullish again on like zero RB, hero RB stuff is like it's probably a false sense of confidence. But like last year was such a smash for all the even though Justin Jackson wasn't like good all year, he popped up with a monster game in the playoffs that was huge, absolutely huge. For moving teams along. Darrell Henderson was a huge win. Sony Michel was a huge win. Alexander Madison, of course, did the Alexander Madison thing. Rashad Penny, clearly a smash. Even Tony Pollard as a handcuff that never even got to play a full role was really, really useful, right? And on and on and on with all of these guys, Darrell Williams, etc. But like, honestly, Samaje Perine helped me, and people were laughing at taking Samaje Perine in the 18th round. But it's like I attached my brand to freaking Darrington Evans, who was the worst, literally the worst, my highest own, obviously, and the worst handcuff pick that you could have made out of all these guys. I guess maybe other than like JV and Hawkins, who like is he like on an XFL team now, maybe something like that. But so I would love to take Alec Pierce, but I really think I have to take Daniel Jones here and figure. Oh shit! I thought I was on the clock. Okay, why not me? Thank you for not stealing my guy. Daniel Jones is also a tier break for me at quarterback, and there are multiple different ways to backdoor stack him. So I'm going to have too much of him, to be frank. Too much Daniel Jones, which is probably not going to end very well. But that's what we're doing. But anyway, as Sam says, totally agree. I believe. I love this. Hacker says Eckler equals Kamara, Spiller equals Ingram. I think that's what they want to do. That's my take. Take that with a grain of salt. It's not like I know anything better than anybody. But if I were to like put an assessment to how they, based on how they have preferred to play in the past, basically other than last year, and then using this draft capital on Isaiah Spiller and not bringing back Justin Jackson, I think the evidence supports this is the most likely way that the Chargers want to play, which is like that means Isaiah Spiller is like one of the best like mid-round running back picks because he has standalone value. He's probably going to score some touchdowns and score some points while Eckler is out there. And B, if something happens to Austin Eckler, Mark Ingram, Latavius Murray, those type guys were stone cold smashes when Alvin Kamara got hurt. And Justin Jackson was a stone cold smash last year when Eckler got hurt. So sign me up. Yeah, I agree with this, Nick. Chase Edmonds and Rashad Penny do not belong in the same tier with those running backs, which is really funny. I like Penny a little bit. I think Edmonds is overpriced. Penny is just a little bit more of look. They're going to run the ball. We all think they're going to be terrible. We know that they're going to be terrible, but that doesn't mean that Rashad Penny can't be useful. He's very good at football. Obviously, we have the Kenneth Walker thing. We have like Geno Smith's probably going to be the quarterback. I have all this. Like, trust me, I have all the same concerns as everybody else does about the offense. I do not want to be overexposed to the Seattle Seahawks, but Penny's also very good. And whether we like it or not, they're probably going to run the ball plenty, and he's really good, and he can run into some upside just from that. But I agree. I like these dudes here that you see that I took. Sorry, I got the board all screwed up. Like to give me the Penny in a timeshare in Seattle with Geno Smith, or Melvin Gordon in a timeshare with Russ and the Broncos playing the Chiefs in the last week. Like I side with Penny, of course, with like the talent and the youth and all of that. but one's on the Broncos with Russ and one is on Seattle. Now I do not hate Seattle's Week 17 game as well, so that's something to keep in mind, and another reason why I don't want to have 0 of Penny. But then you have a Bills running back, a Bucks running back, a Chargers running back. It's like, how can you take one of, these guys on the worst, what should be, oh God. So now I need to decide if I'm taking Herbert as my last, which I think I'm actually going to do. I'm going to finish this with 6 running backs probably. And Khalil Herbert's actually one of my another a similar 0 running back, and he fits all structures for me. But I'm very high on Khalil Herbert. I think he's very clearly the handcuff to David Montgomery. I understand we're probably not all that excited about the Bears from a macro perspective. From a micro perspective, whoever's playing running back for the Bears for every single season has been a good fantasy asset. Point blank, period. David Montgomery has been good when he has been hurt. Damian Williams was good when they were both hurt. Khalil Herbert was really good. Quite good, actually. And in case you guys haven't heard me talk endlessly about Week 17, the Bears play the Lions in Week 17. That's one of the games I'm really trying to target, like heavily. And so he fits. He fits this build. He fits the things I'm looking for in running backs. 0 running back in tournaments where Week 17 matters so much, and those contingent value bets, right? Like, I think people. Thank God, I was trying to continue talking. Now I get Wandale to stack with Daniel Jones, and we're in good shape. I know other people might say I got to draft Will Fuller or Odell Beckham or whatever. What are they? As soon as the free agent veteran signs, he's going to shoot up, right? How can you not be smashing that veteran free agent? You're going to get closing line value if you take him. Sweet, sweet closing line value. Just injected into everybody's veins. Making money, drafting the young players who we know crush in fantasy and crush in these playoff contests. Who cares? Closing line value. Give it to me. Mostly kidding. Mostly kidding. I like Will Fuller, obviously. And I totally get people drafting Odell and such. I'm really just trolling because I can't help myself. Let's see. Khalil, so hot right now. I agree. Does Herbert have more upside than Mostert? I know Mostert is old, but he is such a home run threat. I believe so. I don't think there's any path to Raheem Mostert getting a full workhorse role, and I believe there's a very, very, very clear path to Khalil Herbert doing that, and it's David Montgomery going down. I don't think, no matter what happens in Miami, Edmonds goes down, Sony goes down, whatever. Mostert, well, obviously, you that would be nice if you have Raheem Mostert, but nothing is going to turn him into a 25 touch back. And so it's not that I'm disinterested in Raheem Mostert. I just like some of these other guys a little bit better. Shout out to you, Al Paul. That's 2 first names. So a comment from anybody that has 2 first names gets put up on the screen. Let me see. Nick likes Odell for the back. Sorry, I didn't mean to make fun of the people that love the boomer old wide receivers. But Nick said, I love Odell for the backdoor Week 17 Chargers and Ram stacks. Yeah, I mean, if he signs there. Until he signs with the Bucks or something. Then, damn it, I forgot to pull the board up. I apologize. I get talking and I can't help myself. I also should probably look at my team. We should put him on our team then. Just was watching Beer Fest. Who's Barry Badgernath scene. So good. Who's Barry Badgernath? Who's Barry Badgernath? Who's Barry Badgernath? We should put him on our team then. So, got 7 wide receivers. got my stacks. Don't have any Colts bringbacks. Got that open and available to me at the second tight end spot. I guess Paris Campbell's probably still around. Don't really have anything there. I'm about to be on the clock. Sorry. Looking at a couple of things. Take it. Nick says take. Oh, is it? Am I? Did I have the same buy? That's hilarious. Well, I gotta draft it now. 20 seconds on the clock. Doesn't Cleveland play? Nope. Oh, yep. I knew it. I knew there was something I was forgetting. So we take Nico as my last wide receiver here because I have Travis Etienne, and the Jags play Houston in week 17. This is funny. This is totally unintentional, by the way, but I don't care. Yeah, see, you can see how much Cleveland I draft because I forgot. I completely blanked on who they played in week 17. Now, I do think, and I did this the other day in a draft with, I think, Paul. I was inverted in the Discord, and you'll see him here. Not in this draft, but in lots of drafts on Underdog. I do think you can do. I'm just going to click some guys in here really quick. I do think you can do a solo Kelsey. I know not everybody necessarily agrees with that, but I think you can do a solo Kelsey in these tournaments if you take him in the first round. I don't love it as much. You guys know that I really don't care about the bye week stuff, but when I have my druthers, if I can not give away points at both quarterback and tight end for the bye weeks, I think I prefer it. Now I just need to decide. I think I'm actually going to take Kylan Granson here, which I know most people are probably still very much out on Kylan Granson, and I'm going to be the only person taking him. But I like a couple things on Kylan Granson. One, the very first number one thing is I obviously have my Giants stack, right? I have Daniel Jones, and I have let me pull the board up. I have Daniel Jones. So we see here is my second quarterback stacked up with Wandale, right? So I'm going to side with in those late round picks with the correlation. Now I could have taken. I had other correlation options there, right? Brevin Jordan would give me 2 Texans as both bringbacks to Travis Etienne. I think that's totally fine. I could have taken Daniel Bellinger or Ricky Seals-Jones. I actually prefer Bellinger to RSJ, but if you prefer RSJ, that's fine because I have a giant stack, right? I could correlate that with Daniel Jones, and I think that's also totally fine. If you wanted to leave it solo Kelsey, I think that's fine. I think it's still probably a little bit better to take 2 tight ends, but I am mixing a little bit of solo Kelsey into my teams. However, Kylan Granson obviously then now operates as a bring back to my Giant stack. So I still get the correlation. I just get the opposite side of the Daniel Jones and Wandale stack. And in this, scenario, this team, let me, I've been told I have to refresh. That's my first puppy draft, by the way. You just got to witness it. I might stop because I think that's it. That's the winner, right? I'm pretty sure that's the winner. So anyway, I take Kylan Granson because I'm deciding between all these different correlation opportunities, and Bellinger is definitely going undrafted, so I'm open to that for sure. It came down to you might think it would come down to Brevin Jordan versus one of these other guys because Brevin Jordan is probably a better pick. I have him ranked higher or whatever than these other guys. Don't be an idiot. But when particularly in this, whether it's only going to be open for 2 weeks, I'm kind of siding with when these are coin flip differences for me, and it's all correlated. Give me the guy that's never drafted, right? Like, what are the odds that Kylan Granson has 100 yards and 2 touchdowns in the championship? Obviously, none. But you tell me an 18th round pick that has that, that has good odds on that. I'll just take that guy every time. This in BBM, we have the risk of chasing uniqueness now in May that doesn't end up being unique, right? It's unique relative to like Travis Kelce's going to be drafted in 100% of drafts, and Kylan Granson, if we get positive camp news, is still only going to be drafted in like whatever 30 to 50% of drafts in Best Ball Mania specifically. But there's still the risk of you chased uniqueness, and we get Kylan Granson as a starting tight end for the Colts, and look at how awesome he looks in camp and whatever, and he's not unique. On the opposite side, in Puppy, that risk does not exist. Guys that are not getting drafted right now are not going to get drafted in this contest point blank period. So I like using that 18th round pick to be like, and like I said, Bellinger also falls into that. And RSJ probably falls into it. He probably gets picked up a smidge more, but all those guys really fall into that bucket. I think, like I said, I chose Granson in this. I like the bring back aspect as opposed to the double stack aspect a little bit more. Like if I'm really deciding as a final, deciding factor, tiebreaker, if you will, that's where I like to side. But that's kind of the general thought process. What I'm thinking when I'm thinking through some of those late round picks. Let's see here. Oh, yes. Speak to my heartstrings, Terrence. If Trey Lance is as productive as Lamar when he was a rookie, would he still be your number one quarterback? Yes, 100%. Bye weeks don't matter. Damn straight, Jake. Preach it. Say it louder for the people in the back. Tony, I know you. I knew this. Tony says he has 83% Nico. For those of you not aware, this man won $1 million on DraftKings last year, so you should listen. And also you're saying that about somebody I just drafted, so that makes me feel better. I'll pat myself on the back. Kind of to round it out here, great question from Nick. Do you think the smaller final for the Puppy leads to building bigger stacks? I do think you can. Yes. I actually wanted to touch on this yesterday and kind of today. I'm glad you brought it up to kind of summarize. That's a big difference. That's maybe the biggest difference that people won't think about or talk about for a 100-man final, or I'm just going to use round numbers. 100-man final versus a 500-man final is that's 5 times more teams, right? 4 to 5 times more teams are in that final of Best Ball Mania, and the contest is so much bigger that the quality of team, right? The top 0.1% of Best Ball Mania teams is a better cohort of rosters than the top 0.1% in the Puppy, right? It's 4 times bigger, 5 times bigger. And so when that happens, when you have to beat more teams in week 17 and they're better, higher quality, higher projected teams, higher ceiling teams, you need more upside from your team. How do you get more upside? It's actually not from adding more people from the same game, because, right, Russell Wilson can only, and the Broncos can only score so many points. There can only be so many yards. There can only be so many touchdowns to reach a true ceiling for X amount of players. And it's probably like 2, right? You don't have to be perfect. This isn't the DFS Millie Maker, but you want to be striving a little bit more towards pure true ceiling, and pure true ceiling gets cut off at a certain number of players from the same team, right? And so like my running back, I need my running back to run for 100 and something yards and multiple touchdowns. When my running back runs for a bunch of yards and a bunch of touchdowns, guess who is not scoring? The quarterback and the wide receivers. And so in turn, yes, you have outs to quarterback throwing a touchdown to running back, whatever. But if we're building for a little bit more ceiling, in BBM, I want to be siding a little bit more away from the super stacks. I'm still not personally doing a ton of super stacking in the Puppy, but it becomes a lot more viable because it's a smaller contest. Week 17 is smaller. You need to hit a little bit less of the nuts. I would still be very price sensitive on how I was doing it. But if I wanted to do Mahomes, Juju, Sky, and Rojo or something like that, I think it's totally fine. I probably will never do that in Best Ball Mania, but in the Puppy, I think you can do those kinds of things and then throw in multiple Broncos on the other side and be like, look, I know that some of these guys are going to miss in this game, but I'm also going to have so many outs to smashing on this game. Now I just need to find that penny and Amon Ra, and I'm live to win the Puppy. In BBM, it's like you got to hit the stone cold nuts in week 17. And so hopefully that answers the question. Hopefully that makes some sense. Last one to answer Jake's question. Your comment on the 18th round pick giving you 100 yards and 2 touchdowns is the running back most likely to get there in week 17. I've been leaving running back for the last spot due to inherent upside. I think if I was saying what position is most likely, yeah, I think I would say running back. I think the market has gotten a lot more efficient in those late rounds, particularly at running back, where we know, I think, inherently, like, how many years ago do you think Rashad White or Isaiah Spiller would go in the 11th round? I don't know. Not that, like, Alexander Madison went in like the 15th, 14th, 15th round last year for a long time. Tony Pollard didn't always used to go even in like the 10th round. The market's gotten really smart about who those contingent bet, the best contingency bet players are at running back. And so I think it's a lot more thin back there than people will give it credit for. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And I do think on Underdog that running back is the best spot for it. But I also think that's like in a vacuum. That's ignoring other variables. And I think the best position for it might be running back. The easiest way to find it is through correlation. The easiest way to find the impact, right? Daniel Jones crushes. I've made this bet that Daniel Jones crushes. If that's right, when I'm deciding on the 18th round pick and I'm trying to find the guy that's going to do that 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, I want it to be either with Daniel Jones, right? Daniel Bellinger, Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, whatever, or it's on the opposite side of him. Kylan Granson, Paris Campbell, whatever. Maybe they sign another back. They have Philip Lindsay, right? It's that. Or Trey Lance on the opposite side of Trey Lance. It's Jameer White or Kenyon Drake, right? And so, or Demarcus Robinson. So I lean more towards the correlation being the actual best answer. But if I was speaking strictly in a vacuum positionally, I do agree with you that it would be running back. Best while moderate. I will try to get to some. Come back on Monday. We'll have another draft stream on Monday. Bring your questions. I got to get going. Like I said, I am going to the Cardinals game tonight and probably watching the Blues and the Cardinals together at the same time during that game. So bear with me as a tortured St. Louis sports fan. I'm not very hopeful about how it's going to go for my Blues tonight, but enjoy your holiday weekend. Like I said, I know it's a long weekend for most people. We'll be back on Monday with another draft stream. Maybe we'll hop into another puppy. So if you missed this one, we'll see you guys on Monday. Like I said, have a great holiday weekend. Thanks, guys. This is a ton of fun. Catch you later. Peace.